So this week I wanted to show you guys how to do several things actually. I'm going to create a font, but I'm going to do it in an entirely different way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by tracing the font, and then I'm going to make a sort of a shape that looks similar to yarn. And then from there I will bend the pattern that I make around different curves of the letters. The font or the pen that she had used was perfect for doing this. It made tracing the letters out very easy. It wasn't really much work at all. It took maybe I think an hour. I really just I just used the pen tool and draw lines along where I think that she had drawn the the characters in. I try to keep them kind of centered. I do go back and touch up, like a lot of them I just did quickly, and then later on I went back and just edited all the nodes and kind of straightened them out a little bit. In some cases there were bumps or things that like a little bit of little off curves that I could have fixed. I didn't bother to fix them. I actually just traced them. I thought that it's a handwriting font, so just keeping it close to somebody's handwriting was more important than like repairing all the little things. This same system works for a lot of things. You can use it in web design to make like chains around things, or you know, just various. There's various uses for it. It's very useful. There are a lot of bugs with it. It You'll see later. It makes some odd lines on occasion. Like it'll hit a curve it doesn't like or something, and it'll just put one of the nodes miles out. And I just kind of go back after and delete and clean it up. Once we get all the letters traced out, I just make a small circle and kind of slant it a little bit, and then I apply a clone, like tiled clones. I just make, I try to make a number of tiled clones that are the length of the line, and then delete it. I did terrible at it at first, especially on the capitals, but I kind of started to get the hang of it by the end. Again, I really only make a font, once a year maybe normally. If I do wind up doing another font video, I'll probably put a good solid week into it. Right now, I think the 9-hour font is actually the longest time I've spent on a font. This one may have come close. It may have actually been a little bit longer. It was kind of a lot of work to like edit the nodes, and then I had to do a lot of editing, and it created a lot of strange little issues in Font Forge that I had to kind of pick through to get it to work. Um, so, and it still needs a lot of cleanup. I just kind of ran out of time on it. I go back in and just fill in holes, and like I think I use the Union tool a couple times in the whole process, because you can't, for example, just put a bend on a path and then pick it up and move it. It goes right back to where it was. So what you do is after you bend it, you uh, convert object to path, and then you're able to move it. It becomes its own thing. From here, I just kind of like I tweak the size of some of them a little bit, and push them around and line them up a little bit better. It's because there's cursive tails and things. It looks a lot better being lined up a little bit more than I normally would for a handwritten font. Uh, because the tails are all in different positions, there's no way to make an actual cursive font out of it. To do something like that, I would actually have to sit down for a couple of days, probably with the pen tool, and really just carefully plan out the letters. This I wanted to show you because when you make a font, if you accidentally bump one of the lines, you just have to read the error and then double click on the line and make sure that everything's set to an integer. It will tell you which of the lines is off in the error box. Once we get it into Font Forge, I just add the extra characters and things, and I really did clean up this font a lot. Like the whole path method that I used isn't really good. Like you do have to do a lot of cleanup afterwards. So you can save yourself time by just making sure you know how to like use the node editors, and really just how to clean it up before you go into Font Forge. This is actually after the font was mostly cleaned up. What I'm doing now is just I'm doing a lot of the kerning and just making like pushing the characters one direction or the other, and making sure that they kind of line up. I actually repeat this process a few times. I just figured I'd kind of show you one of the stages of it. I did jump around a lot in this video too, and forgot to warn you. But I don't think you need to see me do the same thing over and over every week. I just figured I want to show you new things and kind of explain how they're done. Some of the characters I kern just by, like the numbers I gave just a little extra space at the ends. And then some of the characters I used, like the capital T, I think I used like kerning based on classes. And then, I jumped around and done a few different kinds of kerning and just played around with it. There's still quite a bit to do. I just, like I said, I ran out of time and, I tested a few times and it finally got to the point where it was looking, somewhat usable. And so I just kind of went with it. You'll see I, like, in a second, I continuously, like, type words out just to see, random words and just to see where the characters fall in those words. And then, I make adjustments here and there where I need to. And then towards the end, I actually just create the font and then install it, and then use WordPad to apply lorem ipsum to it, and read it, and then find any out of place characters, and then I just go back and start the whole process again from where I left off. I usually try to pick out words like look and book, and especially words with double characters, because sometimes that's where your problems pop up the most. But also with characters like the T and the F and the G and the J, uh, almost anything that has a descender that goes below the baseline will, it'll potentially give you problems. I also didn't really do a lot of kerning on the capitals with this font. The capitals, I figured that you're generally just going to have a capital and then lowercase letters after it. If you wrote out a word as capitals, it might look a little funny. And with that, have a great week, everybody, and thank you for watching.